I thought the isolation would be good for my writing. The Blackwood estate was a steal, a massive Victorian fixer-upper nestled deep in the woods of Maine. It came fully furnished, which I initially saw as a win, until I found the clock in the study. It was a massive, obsidian grandfather clock that stood 7 feet tall, absorbing the light around it. Unlike other clocks, its face didn't have numbers from 1 to 12. Instead, it had a series of rotating brass discs displaying years, months, days, and seconds. It didn't tick. It hummed with a low, vibrating frequency that made the marrow in my bones itch every time I walked past it. Cleaning the dust away one evening, I noticed small brass plates on the side of the mahogany casing. Each plate bore a name and a date that matched the numbers on the display perfectly. My breath hitched when I recognized a name from the local news, a man who had disappeared 3 decades ago. The date next to his name was the exact day he was declared missing. As I ran my fingers over the cold metal, the discs behind the glass began to whirl frantically. The humming grew into a rhythmic thumping, like a heavy heart beating behind the wood, and the smell of ozone filled the small room. Panic set in when I saw a fresh plate being engraved by some invisible hand right before my eyes. My own name appeared in jagged, fresh letters. Below it, the timer began its final descent. I had 48 hours. I tried to move the clock, to smash it, to throw it into the fireplace, but the obsidian was harder than any material I had ever encountered. Every blow from my sledgehammer simply bounced off, leaving me exhausted and terrified. The house seemed to shrink around me, the shadows stretching longer and darker as the countdown neared its inevitable zero. On the final night, the humming was so loud I could no longer hear my own screams. I sat on the floor, watching the seconds bleed away into nothingness. 3, 2, 1. Silence. The thumping stopped, and the house became deathly still. I waited for the end, for a heart attack or a shadowy figure to emerge from the corners. But nothing happened. I was still alive, my heart racing, but intact. Relief washed over me like a cold wave, and I laughed a hysterical, broken sound until I looked back at the clock and saw the discs moving again. I realized then that the clock didn't just predict death, it demanded a trade. My name was gone from the plate, polished smooth as if it were never there. In its place, the name of the person I loved most in the world appeared, and the timer reset to 5 minutes. I heard the sound of a car pulling into the gravel driveway, my wife coming to surprise me for the weekend. I scrambled to the door, trying to scream a warning, but my voice was gone, replaced by that same low, vibrating hum. As she stepped over the threshold, the clock let out a final, triumphant chime, and the study door locked itself from the inside.